So we're talking about step 8 this week, this month, and I haven't had the privilege of being here to listen to what Brad might have said about it, so you may be getting some repetitive stuff, and maybe not, I'm not sure. But step 8 is pretty simple. It says, make a list of all persons that we harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. In this step, we're called upon to make a list, pretty simple, and become willing to make amends. And if we're not willing, maybe we could become willing to make that list. Sometimes it takes some effort because it's a very painful step to do. It says that we need to make the list of all people, not just some of them, but all people that we have harmed, and become prepared to make amends to them all. Making amends is not making a shallow, oh, I'm sorry for what I did. You've got to get a little bit deeper than that. It means we have to fix the problem. We have to fix what we broke along the way. Making amends means that we're willing to show that we're really, truly, sincerely sorry and willing to go to any lengths to make things better and to repair the damage that we've caused. Remember, step 8 is not about making the amends, but about making the list of all people that we harmed and exactly what we did to inflict that harm. Sometimes it's hard to remember those things, or it's difficult to remember because we don't want to. Step 8 is one of the most concrete and specific of all the 12 steps, and one of the easiest to understand. Simple. We make a list of the people we hurt. The first 7 steps involved internal change, changes from within, inner searching on our addiction, coming to grips with our concept of a higher power, and then really coming to be able to turn our will and our life over to that higher power, whatever it might be. And we do a searching and fearless moral inventory. So we've got to really look inside at what we did, the harms we've caused, the things that have happened. And then we need to share that with one other person, a human being, and with God. So like a big confession. And we know that the healing starts when we do that. It's a lot of internal stuff, causing thought and reflection on our behaviors and how our addictions affected ourselves, our families, our employers, our employees, and everybody else around us. We know that this is a family disease and it affects many, many people besides just ourselves. Starting with step 8, we have to start repairing the things around us that we damaged by our behavior and our addictions. There's no doubt in my mind that this step tells recovering people what to do. Make a list of all people who were harmed by our addiction. The key thing here is who has been hurt by our addictions and not who hurt us. The point I want to make here is that you don't, at this time, focus on who has hurt you. In early recovery, it's easy to become obsessed with the things other people have done to us, the harms that have been caused to us, so that we can justify our bad behavior. Since you hurt me, I can hurt you back. You haven't made an amends to me, I'm not going to make one to you. The point is here, we don't keep score. What we need to do is determine what we have done to hurt other people and repair the damage so that we're free from it. This is when the healing begins. I have to admit, it's so much easier to blame other people for all our wrongs. It's much easier to do that than it is to look at ourselves. But that is what this step is asking us to do. We need to clean our side of the street. That begins with taking a paper and a pencil and making that list of all the people we harmed. Make a list, write it down. I know many people that I've worked with try to do that list in their head, and it just doesn't work because we tend to forget people, likely forget the most difficult ones, and we don't get to the point of making those amends. So we need to write it down so that we get them all, we don't forget them. What I recommend is that we take a sheet of paper and we make 3 columns on it. In the first column, we write all the people that we've harmed. In the second, we write down what we did to harm them, and we need to reflect on the memories. You can remember the incident, you need to remember the reaction of the other person, maybe the circumstances around that incident. If you can remember the tones in your voice and their voice, and the things that were said, It will help you remember exactly what you did. This won't be easy. No, not at all. But it will be clearly helpful in the healing process and help you realize the harms that you may have done. Ask yourself what you think about the situation now, thinking about it this many years later or many months later, whatever the case may be. Do you have reflections or interpretations about the harms done? And acknowledge the pain, the anger, the shame, the guilt, and the fear that goes along with that situation. Also ask yourself what feelings you have about attempting to repair the damage. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of shame and fear involved in that. And in the third column, write what you think you need to do to make those amends. So you've got the people, you've got what happened, and now you want to put the solution to the problem, what you're going to do to make the amends. Most difficult part is to determine what you hope to accomplish from doing the repair work. Sometimes our intentions are not helpful. For example, if your intention is just to look good to other people, then probably you need to take a longer and a more in-depth look at your motives. Once you've determined what it is you're trying to accomplish, you can name specific actions that will make up for what happened. It's likely a good idea at this point in time to review some of these actions with your sponsor. Get some advice from another person. What do you think? What do you think? Is this appropriate? Is it proper? Right? And sometimes we have to take a look at the people that we have hurt and determine whether it's appropriate to even make an amends to them. I can think of situations with some people with ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, and whatnot that are likely to resurface in their life will cause more damage than what you're ever going to repair by making the amends. So you've got to take a very hard look at who it is and what happened and what's gone on. There's some people that you may have on your list that you have no idea what their name is. It's pretty hard to make amends to them. So what we recommend in those cases is that you do a living amends. So show everyone around you and people from your past that you have changed, that you're in recovery, and that your life has certainly changed. You're a different person today than what you were when you were in your addiction. The scripture I chose for this step is Luke 6, chapter 31, or verse 31. And it's an old saying that I know that many of you have heard right from youth on, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think it's a very important scripture for this step, but in life in general, and it's very appropriate to this step. We have heard this saying since we've been young, since we've been children, and it's generally referred to as the golden rule. As we move forward in our recovery, we want to start treating people the way we want to be and expect to be treated. I've always been a believer that we get what we give. Whatever it is that we put out there, either good or bad, we'll get it back in the same manner. When we go into a store, and if we happen to run into one of those clerks, it doesn't happen that often, but a cranky clerk, it's pretty easy to be cranky back with them. If you're smiling at people or they're smiling at you, it's pretty easy to be positive. I know I do it when I get on the bus in the morning to go to work or on the train. I try to make eye contact with somebody and smile at them and wish them a good morning. Well, most people are busy on their phones doing whatever, and it's hard to get eye contact, but it's fun to try. And whatever you give out there, generally you'll get it back. Even if they're having a bad day, if you smile at them, you'll generally get a smile back. And that's the way we need to carry on in our life. Let's talk a little bit about the people that have caused harm to you, because you know what? As we went through our addiction, a lot of times we were harmed by people in our lives. What do we do about that? If we look at that Luke chapters 6, verses 27 to 30, it says quite clearly in there that we should love our enemies. Do good to those that hate you. Pray for those that hurt you. And forgive them. Let them off the hook. You know what? We try to do that around here all the time, and I know with people that I work with in recovery, my recommendation to them all the time is to pray for the people that have hurt you. Pray for the people you have resentments against, and it fixes you, it helps you, it doesn't maybe do anything for them, it's hard to say. You psychologically acknowledge to yourself, it's okay. I'm not going to hold this person responsible for this wrong. You don't forgive the person in order to help them, because they likely won't even know it. You do it to help yourself. So forgiveness looks like this. Yes, you hurt me, and it was painful, but I now hold you harmless for that action. When you've been injured, you only have two choices. You can forgive, or you can hold the resentment. We all know what holding on to resentments does to us. Holding on to resentments only hurts you. The other person has no idea that you're hurt, has no idea that you're mad or upset with them, and in some cases has no idea that they really hurt you. Holding the resentment is like drinking poison and hoping that they die. Okay? That it's actually killing you. It eats away at you like an acid. Resentment is the acid that consumes the vessel that contains it. Holding those resentments will take you back out sooner or later. I believe the character defect that goes along with step 8 is self-centeredness. In our addiction, we were very selfish, self-centered, and the whole world revolved around us and our addictions. The spiritual principle around this step is brotherly love. This is a spiritual principle we preach around this church all the time. Unconditional love to one and all. The 8th and the 9th steps take us to what we call the promises. A bunch of beautiful promises. You heard them read here tonight by Daryl. It says in the big book, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, when we're halfway through working our steps, the promises will start to come true. I know many of us have experienced some, if not all, of the promises coming true. I know many of you here tonight that are working strong programs where promises have very much come true. Families have been reconnected. Children have come back into your lives. Parents have come back into your lives. Financial insecurity is gone. Jobs have come back to you, all from working these steps. And those promises are so important, but we have to work for them. To have the promises come true and to start to materialize, we have to work hard on our program. It says we have to be painstaking about this phase of our development. So what that implies is that if we work hard, certain things will start to change within us and around us. Again, we get what we give. So if we work hard at that, we get something back in return. So I want to talk a little bit about what brought you here to Central United Church, and in particular to this recovery service. And maybe more importantly, what keeps you coming back, for those of you that keep coming back every week. I know many of you are in recovery and are in 12-step programs. However, there are some of you who may not be. And I want you to know that this is, we do a lot of 12-step recovery work here, but this is a life recovery service as well as one for people with addictions. We believe that most, if not all of us, have issues other than drinking and drugging. And the only step in the 12 steps that has anything to do with alcohol or drugs is step 1. And all of the rest of the steps deal with life issues and how to deal with life. And I think almost anybody and everybody can learn from those steps on how to live their life in a better way. The reason I asked about what brought you here, I know in my case, I was invited to come here many years ago by a young fellow I was sponsoring who was in Simon House. And prior to him going into Simon House, we had a long discussion about what we were looking for in the church. He comes from a Mormon background, and I come from an Anglican background, and neither one of us were getting what we felt we needed or wanted out of the churches we were going to in our spiritual development. He called me up one night and said, "Peter, I found your church." And as a result of that call, I came here the next week. It was about 13 years ago, as I remember. Walked through the back door, front door, was greeted by a warm handshake and a hug, and walked into the sanctuary before anything was going on here. And I had a sense of peace came over me, and I felt that I was at home. I felt like this was my home and my church, and I hadn't listened to anybody at that time. Pastor Wayne came out. I think John Mitchell was the host at that time. He was out, and Pastor Wayne came out in his shorts and t-shirt. And I knew then that I really was at home. This was a pretty cool place to be. And it's been my home ever since. I don't think I've missed many Sunday nights being here, other than if we're away on holidays. And it is a great place to end your week or begin your week, whatever the case may be, to kind of ground yourself and remind yourself of where you're at. So I was asked to come here. I was invited to come here, and I know many of you have been. And I want to throw out just a little challenge to all of you to ask somebody to come here. Bring somebody with you next week, week after. You're in meeting rooms all the time where people are struggling with the concept of a higher power, where they don't know whether they want to believe in a God or a creator or not. I can't think of a better place to come to learn more about that. This is a church where it doesn't matter where you're at in your spiritual belief, whether you have no belief to having a whole bunch of belief. You can come here and you can feel comfortable and nobody will judge you. You can come here from any walk of life, any sexual orientation, anything that's going on. You can come here and be accepted. And we are so proud of that around here. I know over the years, in my work in the Young Offender Center, I've had many of those young men come here. Everyone knew where they had come from, knew that there was some serious things that had gone on, and nobody ever questioned their background. Nobody judged them. Everybody accepted them as they accept you, no matter what your background is. We accept everyone here. So I just want to get that message out. I want to spread it around a bit. I think these pews should be full on Sunday night of people that are looking for something else. That doesn't mean that they should quit going to any other church that they go to. I think it's great. Some people go to Center Street Church, some people go to Catholic churches, they go to others, but they come here on Sunday evening to get this part of their program. So, challenge to you, get out there and see what we can do about bringing a friend, maybe an enemy if we're going to pray for them. Who knows what we're going to do together, right? Stranger things have happened, but I can't imagine a better place to learn any of that stuff. So, with that, I think we'll bring it to a close. I think we might be a little bit early, but that's okay. Just remember, you get what you give. So if we give it out, if we offer it out, I know it's going to come back to us. So please join with me in the 7th step prayer. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. God bless. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.